All right, welcome back. We have covered the cognitive and emotional, and now it's time to dive into behavioral change. Have you heard of exposure therapy? It's the number one treatment used for anxiety disorders, clinical anxiety issues, and it involves a very simple principle and an even simpler approach. The heart of exposure therapy is whatever makes you anxious, do it. Do something that scares you. If you feel afraid of something, fantastic. Do it scared. And that is your mantra for this section of the module. That's your mantra for this video. Going forward, make it your mantra in general. Do it scared. Here's a great quote from my former clinical supervisor, Dr. Marty Antony. Take a look. Now, exposure therapy is used for all sorts of anxiety disorders. If people have social anxiety, if they get shy or afraid to deal with social situations, we have them initiate conversations with strangers. We have them raise their hand in class. We have them go to people who are in positions of power or authority and ask them questions. We might have them do things slightly embarrassing, like ask for the time while standing under a big clock in public, or things that are slightly irritating to others, like staying stopped at a red light until people start to honk, or maybe even paying for Starbucks in nickels. Although that could be dangerous in certain areas. When it comes to panic disorder, people who have panic attacks repeatedly, we encourage them to expose themselves to feelings of panic, to do things that deliberately bring on the sensations. If they feel dizzy and uncomfortable because of a little bit of vertigo, we might spin them around in a chair. If it's a matter of feeling hot, well, bring in a parka and turn on a space heater in order to feel those sensations. When people have generalized anxiety disorder and worry, we encourage them to intentionally think and worry about that which is on their minds. To think the whole thing through, not at a superficial level, but all the way through to the actual end of what really, truly scares them, the real implications of what could be going through their minds. When people have obsessive compulsive disorder, whatever the obsession is about, we encourage them to do. Cleanliness and germs are a common one. Well, let me tell you, there are a lot of surfaces that these hands have touched that I don't want to talk about on video together with my patients. The inside of toilets might be one of them. I'm not kidding. And the point is to do things that make people afraid. Now, I want to be really clear. All of these things in exposure therapy are done voluntarily. We never force people to do things. If someone's afraid of spiders, we don't take a spider and throw it at them. But we would bring a spider into the office and encourage them to approach the cage, to put their hand near it, and to eventually let the tarantula crawl on them. Same thing with snakes. No, I literally have a guy on my phone who brings in snakes and spiders when we need it. And yes, it's the same guy, unsurprisingly. If people are afraid of driving, well, we encourage them to get behind the wheel. Whatever it is that makes them anxious, we encourage them to do. Now, whether you have a clinical anxiety disorder like one of these, or run-of-the-mill high-functioning anxiety, like everyone, what scares you? Come up now in your mind with a couple of ways that you could expose yourself to that fear in order to build resilience, in order to build emotional strength. Because by facing your anxiety head on, no matter what it is, as long as it's physically safe, you will become a more resilient human. Exposure takes lots of different forms, lots of different ways. And I don't recommend doing a 10 out of 10 on your list right away. Do something that gives you a mid-range of anxiety or even a low level of anxiety. Now, you always get to pick your exposure activity. And by gradually increasing the steps towards it, you are going to be building resilience in your life. It's going to suck. It's going to be anxious. And that's the whole point. The principle is the same no matter what your anxiety is about. By facing your fear, by facing your anxiety head on, your belief in your own capacity to withstand anxiety will increase by leaps and bounds by doing things that make you feel anxious. What's incredible about exposure therapy is that patients with clinical anxiety disorders who go through it They often report that having faced their fears, they become more emotionally resilient throughout the rest of their life as well. Not only do they conquer their anxiety in that one area, they become more resilient human beings to face the vicissitudes and challenges in life, even those that are not related to the fears that they experienced. There's an incredible story about a former patient of mine who had hypochondriasis, health anxiety about an aneurysm. She was afraid that she had an aneurysm, which she did not. And I told that story in my TEDx Nashville talk. If you haven't yet seen the video, here's a QR code. Check it out and let me know at the next coaching session what you think of the story of Nicole. I want to show you what exposure therapy looks like in practice. Take a look at how fast people can make gains by facing their fears head on.
Mariam has a specific phobia, a fear of snakes. Other specific phobias include claustrophobia and a fear of flying and thunder. Mariam's had almost no contact with snakes and doesn't know why she's afraid. She stands and smiles as her anxiety level comes down.
50.
She's learning
that if you stay exposed to the situation long enough, you see that the anxiety level goes down.
After an hour, she touches Alf.
Good. Did you touch it?
A little bit.
A little bit, yes.
I can believe I'm touching a snake.
You are touching the snake.
Now, granted, that's an accelerated form of exposure therapy called the one-session exposure. And it's pretty intense, much more intense than when things are spread out over days or weeks or even months. But the principle remains the same, and the pace is entirely up to you. When you face your fear, when you do it scared, you build resilience. And that's the difference that matters. Yes, I'm telling you to do things scared and to face your fears. And you're probably thinking, why on earth would I want to do that? Well, when it comes to resilience, we as a society, we've lost track of a basic fact. Struggle makes you stronger. But you know this concept. If you want to build physical strength, you have to break down your muscles in order to build them back up again. By going to the gym, by working out physically, you build your capacity to withstand physical adversity. And emotional resilience is the same thing. It's not supposed to be easy to do. You can achieve great things by going through that challenge, by facing it head on intentionally, not just by waiting for those moments to occur, but by actively seeking them out, by doing them repeatedly. The reps really count. My coach tells me this all the time when I'm going around the track, whether it's 400s or 800s or 1 mile repeats. She says the first time it sucks, and she's right. The second time, it sucks, a little less. The third time still sucks, but even less. And by the fourth or fifth time, I'm actually having some fun out there. And that's all because acetylcholine and adrenaline are your friends. And exposure therapy means intentionally bringing them into your life, not running away from them. Take a look at this chart. The first time you face your anxiety will go higher, even higher than it normally does, because you're doing it now intentionally. You're taking it on purposefully. And the second time, it'll also go up, but not as much, and it usually won't last quite as long. The third time, it'll still go up, but not as much, and it'll last shorter. And through those repetitions, you gradually build strength. You build resilience. Okay, in practice, let's put this together. In order to pull off exposure, you really need to experience it across cognitive, emotional, and behavioral planes simultaneously. To do something truly scared, you already have the cognitive aspects in place. You know anxiety is not physically dangerous. But you can't be doing exposure if you're also avoiding it in your daily life. So let it ride by not fighting your anxiety, by letting it occur. And then, on that basis, intentionally face your anxiety to build your emotional resilience. Just like going to the gym builds physical fitness, doing things that make you scared builds emotional resilience. In sum, your body is built to withstand anxiety. No matter how much you try, the anxiety will pass. You couldn't keep it up forever if you wanted to. So the question is, how willing are you to feel those feelings day to day, to be in an anxious state, to get through it, to let them happen? And finally, what we talked about in this video, to put resilience building into practice in your life by intentionally, purposefully deliberately and repeatedly facing your fears. Not every day, and not all the time, but certainly a couple times a week. You've got this. Please come to the coaching sessions. I can't wait to hear your questions, how things are going for you. If you'd like to troubleshoot which exposures to do, how to let things ride, any questions you have about the cognitive aspects. I'm going to try to face my anxieties too. So let's do this together. And in the next video, and the final one for this module, I'm going to explain the challenge of embrace your anxiety. See you soon.